Yeah, brother.
I'm excited to show you this song.
Is
I've been
this
hyping it up for a long time, but I think it deserves the hype.
in
Uh,
the all-time favorite of Tate lexicon? Where does this stand?
it's weird because it's like it's an oddly like not serious song. I guess I shouldn't say that because it's on a musical level and production level. What they're doing is very serious and very wildly professional, technical, and great.
Yeah,
But lyrically, at least to my ear, it's just silliness. But it's so much fun. In a lot of ways, and I guess we could talk about this after we show the song, but in a lot of ways, this band that I'm about to show you, 100 gecs, reminds me of the Beastie Boys in that
interesting.
like they're very talented and like very technical with what they're doing, but at the same time, like most of their music is like pretty silly and like just them having a fun time. And like
Right.
they ride this line between like, yeah, just like out there crazy novelty music and like seriously just amazing music.
Yeah.
So I guess in like that respect, like I think most songs that I would listen to that I would say like is my favorite song of all time, usually it'd be a more introspective song than like something like this. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
where this would fall, but as I mentioned off the call earlier, this was my most listened to song of the year. Um,
Right.
and it might end up being like my most listened to of next year for all I know. Like I listen to it so often. I
Interesting.
hope you like them, but
Yeah. I'll just make a note that I've described 100 gex. I've described myself as too stupid to understand 100 gex. So I'm intrigued to see how this goes. So
yeah,
I'm sure I'll enjoy it. But
I don't know. I the
historically it's a rough track.
the first time I listened to 100 gecs, I definitely was not into it. Um, I think some of their songs are a little bit more on a first listen abrasive than others. Like now I'll
Mhm.
listen to anything by them and like be into it. But
Yeah.
without having listened to this genre much before, which is hyper pop, and I don't know how much hyper pop you've listened to. Um,
I don't even know what that means.
yeah. Without having listened to much hyper pop before, like it was just like annoying and weird and novelty to me, I guess.
Hmm.
But but yeah, I guess to quickly describe hyperpop, I feel it's like another great genre name. Like I feel like it's like it self describes what it is. It's pop that is hyper. it's
Okay.
it's pop music that like oftentimes there's vocal pitching to make things sound like a lot higher. There's just like off the walls production that's just like crazy like Gen Z TikTok attention span level music,
All
you
right.
know. But it's so much fun, and I that sounds like such a boomer criticism, but like in a in the most positive way, I can say that. I don't know. I've also never watched the music video. Can you see my
Yeah.
screen, by the way? I've never
Yeah.
watched the music video, which is surprising.
Wow. I'm
So
surprised. Let's
this
do
will be interesting. All right, let's just jump right in, I guess. And there you have it. Doritos and Fritos.
That was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I definitely get what you mean when you say like the production and like what they're trying to do musically like is very serious, but the lyrics just don't make any sense to me at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Um,
What are there's the part that Dylan, that's the guy,
yeah,
was singing 100 gigs,
that was another
Doritos.
thing. I did not know 100 gex was like a duo. I just
Yeah.
learned that just
Hmm.
now. I thought
Yeah.
it was just like one lady. That makes
Yeah.
sense though.
Well, I think also I'm more familiar with their most recent album because I like it a little bit better, but I've listened to their first album a couple times, and I don't think Dylan, the guy, sings that much on the first
Oh,
record.
okay, I think that's all
Um,
I've I've heard, to be
Yeah,
honest.
he definitely is more involved in vocally, at least in the new record, I think. Um, but yeah, his line is his verse: Cheetos, Doritos, and Fritos, mosquitoes. I'm eating burritos with Danny DeVito. And they
Yeah,
had like a like I don't know, cheap
just like
version of Danny DeVito
a
there eating a
yeah,
burrito.
cheap, a great value brand of
Yeah,
Danny
yeah.
DeVito. Yeah,
Um,
it was. I honestly, like, my first thought when I listened to the song, I was like, if I listen to this like three more times, it would definitely get stuck in my head, and then I
mhm,
just keep listening to it.
yeah.
So like, I could definitely see, because like the melodies very catchy. Like I
Mhm,
definitely like. I'm just like, it's still stuck in my head now, and I heard
yeah,
it once, so like
yeah,
I definitely understand the appeal of it.
yeah.
Um, I am certainly not smart enough to analyze the music video. I don't know what was happening there. I'm sure there was some ulterior meaning. No idea what
Maybe.
it
Who
was,
knows if there was? There
but
might
it
not
was
have
an
been
interesting
any.
watch. It was an interesting watch. But no, I honestly liked it. Like I said, like if I listened to it a couple more times, I think it'd be really, I think it would get, like, yeah, I'm into it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that's
I
cool.
saw, I was reading through kind of some notes on the song, and they
Mhm.
said it was more kind of like a deviation from their typical like sound, is more alt rock
I could
than
see
hyper
that.
pop. Would you agree with that?
I think their most recent record in general is more in that direction. Like
Okay.
when you listen to their first record, their first like studio record, I guess. Cause so they have three albums that I'm aware of. I think the first is technically a mixtape. It's 100
Mm-hmm.
gecs. And then their second, which is like what I'm considering their first album, is 1,000
1,000
gecs.
guys.
And
Yeah.
then their most recent is 10,000 gecs. So things just fly by 10. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I personally like 10,000 gecs, the one that came out this year, the best. And I would agree that there's generally a direction of like more alternative rock. Um, but their first record was definitely more like pop centric, but also just like I guess just electronic, more electronic, like dancey, I guess. But there's
Yeah.
like weird, like I think it's the first song on their first record. Just at some point in the song, it just devolves into literally just sounds and like I let me just find it real quick. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oops. Oh my goodness. Did you hear that?
No. What was
Okay,
it?
I opened a tab. It was a new Anthony Fantano video, and it started with, "Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here."
Yeah.
um, was it four, five? I think this is it. I'll just skip to the end.
Oh,
But
that was
their
frightening.
yeah, their first record was like a lot more of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, whereas, yeah, their second record, I would say more more in the direction of alt rock. There's a couple other songs that are more like alt rock than even Doritos and Fritos. Um,
Yeah.
but what's interesting to me that was also on the first record, but definitely they leaned into it a lot more on this record and on this song too, is like most of their songs are ska songs at like the core. Which I don't know how familiar with ska you are, but like I definitely grew up listening to a lot of ska. I was like, when I was in high school, like a lot of people were into emo and stuff, and like ska has always been like kind of, I feel like, attached to punk in some ways. So like I wasn't that into emo at the time, but I could get into like the ska bands that everyone was listening to. So I
Yeah.
listened to a lot of ska in high school, and yeah, I don't know, it's just cool hearing like it feels like an artist that's like bringing ska into like the next
Mm.
generation, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so much like genre like mashing in this song. Mashing, is that a word? Is that a phrase? I don't know.
I
um
got you.
yeah. But like the bass line reminds me of like something from like at best, like at friendliest, a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, but like at least friendliest, like a Primus song. I don't know if you know Primus, but they're like a funk metal band. And they're very, very out there. I was also into them in high school, but like they're, yeah, they're just kind of like a strange band. And again, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think they would probably describe themselves as strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. They like mix a bass line like that with like a ska song with like all these electronic elements, and then like the end, there's this like kind of hardcore like heavy metal guitar solo.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just like so much that's happening musically that's like so interesting to me.
Yeah. And I could definitely see that being like a huge part of their appeal. Like, you know what I mean? Like there
Mm-hmm.
is always I mean just based off of that song at least, like there's always something happening. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So I
that's
kind of
also
I you know,
that's what's also really fun. I think about them is like I think that's why I don't get bored of listening to them. Is like yeah, like
right.
there's it's like crazy how dynamic it is with like switching up what's happening almost to a
Yeah.
point that like I feel like when I listened to it too much over the summer it kind of broke me because I then listened to like other music that I loved and I was like it's just not the same, it's just not exciting, it's
Yeah. Yeah. No,
um
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, to draw a parallel at least. I think that's why, a lot of rap fans at least, they love like little like mid-song like beat switches.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Keeps it interesting, kind of gives you a
mm-hmm.
new, it's like having two songs in one.
Yeah, yeah, for
And so
sure.
I kind of think that that's definitely, appealing here as well,
Mm-hmm.
where, you know, you like you said, there's just like such a mishmash of genres that
Yeah,
like you're bound to find something that you enjoy in part of it.
right,
So
right. Yeah,
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 definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed the song. I'm definitely gonna give it another listen because again, there's a lot to unpack there. So
right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, this song, also we were talking about like lyrics, like from what I can tell, this is just a silly song, you know. But they do have
yeah,
other songs that like I feel like on their surface sound silly, but there is like more going on than meets the eye.
yeah.
Um, I don't know to what extent this is one of those songs. Maybe you need to be playing 5D chess to understand. But like, yeah, definitely some of their songs I'm like, okay, like I can hear some kind of introspection that's going on beneath the hood.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, even if the lyrics themselves don't necessarily, you know, point to some larger meaning, right? I mean, it's still impressive. You got to string these words together and make them
Hmm, hmm.
sound good in the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
place. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So,
I think it
even just from
also
that
like
perspective, it's impressive.
it it like challenges in a lot of ways like why you even need to have meaningful
Yeah,
lyrics, I guess, because it's like it's
yeah,
literally just like some of it is just gibberish, but it's fun and like
yeah.
it's like who cares when it's fun. It reminds me in a way of like when he's saying Cheetos, Doritos, mosquitoes, eating burritos with Danny DeVito. It kind of reminds me of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. The lyrics of which I think probably what tipped me off to that smells like teen spirit. Let me look it up. I think he says he like rhymes mosquito with something in that
Mhm.
song, but like the lyrics to that song generally are considered like gibberish, although they are like kind of like talking about like teen angst and just being like counterculture. But
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like a mulatto, an albino, a mosquito, my libido. Like these are just kind of random words that are being strung together. But like part of what made Nirvana so big and so big today still is that it was just fun. Like
yeah,
I don't know. And like that's what's important.
yeah.
And
No,
ultimately
absolutely.
that's like an important thing about music is it just being fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's no set formula
Yeah,
to how
yeah.
any of this, to enjoying music or even making music. So I mean, and again, I'm a rap fan. I don't even listen to the lyrics half the time. So like if it sounds good, if
Right.
the noises make my ears happy, that's all I care about. And so
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of I feel like that's pretty common in rap. Like a lot of rap lyrics like don't really make sense, to be
Hmm.
honest, when you're thinking about it. It's more so like the technical aspect of just like again like stringing these words together,
Yeah.
making them rhyme in like certain rhyme scheme or whatever.
Right.
And so like I think it's kind of interesting to kind of see that translate to other genres because I
Yeah.
feel like you don't necessarily see that often. So
Right.
it's
Uh-huh.
kind of cool in that way. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I so every year I make a playlist of the music that I'm listening to that uh came out within the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um and oh is slowly maneuvering his way closer and closer to me on my lap. Um so he's probably gonna press things on the keyboard. Um yeah, so I make this playlist of songs that came out this year that I generally like, and I send it to my dad to get his opinions on like what's going on in music today, because generally what he listens to is Bruce Springsteen 90% of the time, and 10% of the time other music that I would say generally falls in the scheme of like rock or jazz. But I feel like there was a long time when he was like trying to find new music, but I feel like maybe at some point he kind of like lost hope. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like, so yeah, I don't know. I like to just kind of be like, hey, this is like what's going on in music today. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I sent him this playlist and he's like, all right, yeah, I'll be listening to this. He's like going on a trip soon. He's like, yeah, this will be the playlist in the car, and I'm
Yeah.
interested to know what he'll think about 100 gecs.
Yeah.
I think it
I'd also be
could scare
interested to
him.
hear. Yeah, 100%. I think that might be what ends up happening, but I'd also like to hear what he thinks
Right.
because yeah, I mean he might be top 1% Bruce Springsteen fans, so
Yeah.
you know, or
Um
maybe the Bruce Springsteen fan, who's to
yeah, well,
say?
we got to get a Bruce Springsteen 100 gecs collaboration, and then
Oh
he'll
my
by
lord.
default be a
He'll
huge
be
fan of
into it.
100
Yeah,
gecs.
no, that is a great point, to be
Yeah.
honest.
That's how he got into Rage Against the Machine. Is
Oh wow.
it started, how it started was I was playing Guitar Hero 3, and Tom Morello, the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine, was like a playable character. And like my dad generally like a very like musically literate person, and I remember like playing it in the same room as him, and I was like, hey, who's this guy? Tom Morello, like he's in Guitar Hero. He's a famous guitarist, I guess. And my dad's like, don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then like probably within that year, Tom Morello joined Bruce Springsteen as like a guitarist in Bruce Springsteen's band,
Pretty
and then
cool.
went on to tour with him for many years. And then my dad was like, "Who is this guy?" And like every band that Tom Morello's been in, he's like bought all their albums. Like he became a fan of Audio Slave. He like then like
Yeah.
now he likes Rage Against the Machine too. He's like, oh yeah, that's interesting stuff. And he likes, like, he definitely appreciates Tom Morello a lot. But yeah, it's like
So
it's funny what like that connection like really turned him on to this artist. So
he just needs he just needs Bruce Springsteen to curate music for him is essentially what the
that's
gist
another
of it
thing
is.
actually, because during COVID, Bruce had some kind of playlist, I think, or not playlist, podcast. I think it was called like From My House to Yours or something. We listened to it weekly when I was living with my parents during COVID. Um, and I remember there was a couple artists that Bruce played that I
Mm-hmm.
don't think my dad listened to before, but now when they're brought up, he's like, "Oh yeah, I really respect that artist." Um,
Yeah.
I remember Bruce played a Lana Del Rey song on
Wow.
one of the podcasts, and recently my dad was like, "Yeah, I really respect Lana Del Rey." And for all I
That's
know, he
awesome.
did before too. I'm not sure, but I think he probably just wasn't as familiar with her. But then like heard a song and was like, oh yeah, she's got a beautiful voice and like cool
Yeah.
lyrics. So yeah, but yeah, need a Bruce Springsteen 100 gecs collab.
Like break the internet,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Well, what else should we discuss, Tate?
I don't know.
I
I
don't know either.
I don't know. Like,
Can we actually? I got something I could talk about.
okay,
Can have you seen who was named um like the Time Magazine Person of the Year?
Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Yeah.
What the fuck is up with that, man?
I was gonna bring up Taylor Swift in the last episode because there's that line in that Kanye song that you showed me where
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna let you finish." That was at the Taylor Swift when he yeah. Um
Hmm.
I guess in the article she mentioned how like Kanye like how that happened or where it was like the phone call that they recorded or whatever and then like
Yeah.
doctored. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, uh in
I
that scenario, very much team Taylor. She got fucked up by that.
yeah, okay. I think she got
I
caught in
mean,
the
and she
crosshairs a bit.
like what did she just went up to an accept an award, got
Oh,
like
okay. Yes. That scenario, yes, I totally agree. She got fucked there.
and then like
That was bad.
later has like this conversation that's like doctored about her. Like, I don't know.
Was it actually doctored?
I think
Because I
like
remember when this happened. This happened on fucking Snapchat, by the way. I don't know if you were like aware of what was happening when it happened, but this shit was fucking crazy. Because I remember I was following fucking Kim Kardashian on Snapchat, and she's fucking releasing these videos on Snapchat. I was like, this is fucking sick. Like,
that's
what's
nuts.
happening? I feel like I'm getting an inside scoop here.
I feel like I
Um,
remember the details being that there was a lot that was left out from what Taylor had said.
yeah. I just, yeah, okay. I mean,
I mean
beyond that,
that's a whole other
that's a whole
conversation, I
other
guess.
thing.
But oh yeah, what are your feelings about her being person of the year?
Okay. So the issue I had with it, right, which is potentially an issue that other people had with it. Do you know who the Time Person of the Year was last year? Do you recall? I'll show you.
Was it
You
Anthony
just you,
Fauci?
you just sit there and think of it. You thinking?
When
I'm
was
gonna pull it
Fauci
up.
person of the year? Was he person of
I think that was
2020?
2020. Yeah.
It's been a blur since then.
All right, here, I'll show you. All right. And I want you to think about this for a second. All right. All right. So now let's do some critical thinking here, okay? Let's think about what's happening in the world right now. And this is the best we got. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Okay, I see your point. That said, I
Uh,
mean they've had many artists in the past as Time Person of the Year, right? And they've had like I think it's just like who is most influential. And she's had this huge tour, these albums that she's releasing, re-releasing. She I feel like has swayed uh like how many people pay attention to sports in the US.
yeah,
Um like she's
yeah,
like
I mean,
I think that she is truly an influential person and one of the most influential people of the year.
mhm.
Like it's not
Okay,
that wild to me. But
okay.
if we're putting Time Person of the Year to be a category of like someone who's like involved in diplomatic world relations in some way, like
Okay. I
yeah,
mean, I
she's not the
think
president.
I think I think the way you framed it is fair, to be honest. I think maybe I didn't consider that perspective. I just think of it in a way that like, all right, last year you have, this Russian invasion of Ukraine happening.
Yeah.
Okay. this year, and that was a huge event, right?
Right.
This year, you have arguably an even larger event
Right.
with what's happening in Israel and Palestine.
Right.
And like as this is happening, as thousands of people are dying every day, they're like, Taylor, yes, girl. That's like, fuck, dude. Are you? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just an old man. I don't know what it is. But also, I there was some there was like a Reddit post that had kind of like compiled some quotes from from this interview that she did with Time Magazine, and
Yeah.
I was they didn't sound great is what I
Okay.
would say there. Let me
Haven't
see if
read
I
the
can find it.
interview.
Let me see if I can find that. I don't know if I'll be able to, but here it is. It was just like I don't
I will
know.
say this much about Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. Was this year? Was Midnight's this year or last year? I don't remember, but
Can
it
I be
wasn't
can I
very
be real with you?
good.
Can I be real with you? I've never listened to a Taylor Swift album.
I don't know if I've listened to one front to back.
I don't know if I've
Um,
ever listened to a Taylor Swift song on purpose. To
really,
be honest,
I
yeah.
think she's got some good songs. I mean,
I'm sure she does, but like the appeal is just not there for me because
yeah,
like
that's
I
fair.
don't think she has a particularly like interesting voice. I
Mm-hmm.
think all the
Yeah,
like
that's I could see that. It's a little bit
I
plain, I guess.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is just
Yeah,
my take
I
on it, right? But like I don't think like the production that she has is all that interesting either from like the snippets I have heard. And I don't think she really like collaborates with many other people from what I've heard either. So it's like what am I and I'm certainly not the target audience here. So I don't know. I
yeah,
just like I don't know. It's just not my thing. But I did have a like a worldview shattering thought the other day that like uh Taylor Swift is just Drake for girls, and I was like, oh shit, that kind of like exposes me pretty badly there.
that's yeah.
So
I haven't heard that one, but yeah, I kind of buy that one.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
maybe
let
I'll have
that
to think
simmer
about
for a
that a little bit
moment.
more. But yeah,
Yeah, just let that
wow.
simmer for a moment. It unfortunately makes a lot more sense the more you think about it. It's like shit.
Drake
Man,
is
I'm not.
very collaborative, though. That is one thing. I like Taylor Swift, but I also think that's kind of maybe more inherent to the kind of music she's making. Um, although
Hmm.
I think she's also had some like I didn't listen to any of the records that she put out like this year that were like her re-releases or whatever. But I'm pretty sure some of them were uh like involve some kind of collaboration with other people, which I haven't
Hmm.
really noticed from her before. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Something to be said too about like someone who's like doing this like pretty much all her own written music. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's fair.
it's
I
interesting you
think
bring up the production. Why can't I think the guy's name? People hate her producer, but I actually really like. Oh, Jack Antonoff, that's his name.
hmm.
Um, I really like Jack Antonoff. I
Why
think
do I know that name? What has he done
he's
before?
he produced the new Clairo album, which you also didn't like the production of, right? Um,
Yeah, it was a bit too slow for my taste.
I think that's generally how people view his records, that they are kind of slower, somber, more soft in
Hmm.
timbre, I guess.
Hmm.
But I think he adds a lot of like instrumentality to a lot of things. I think
Hmm.
he also produces, I'm pretty sure, a lot of Lana Del Rey's albums. Uh,
That would make sense.
and I think his production style like kind of works perfectly for Lana Del Rey. So like
Hmm.
some of her albums, I am I would say that his production is really good for. But I can see the argument for certain types of other artists, like pop artists, that maybe that's not the touch you would want, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, he's also he's from what band was it? Um, Fun. Do you remember Fun? FUN period. There's that song We Are Young.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's a throwback.
Yeah,
My
he
goodness.
was in that group. He was the
Oh,
guitarist and drummer. And then he went on to be a producer, and now he's in this other band called the Bleachers. But yeah, so he's like kind
Bleachers.
of a big name in music production. Um,
Hmm.
but a lot of Taylor Swift fans, from what I understand,
Not a fan.
blame, yeah, they're not a fan. I think they blame any issues they have with the albums on him. Like he is the scapegoat. um,
Yeah.
I vaguely also remember like around when he was getting a ton of hate that like Taylor started like posting like pictures of him and her being like, "Oh wow, I love Jack. Like he's great. Like
Yeah.
please don't hate him. Like he's a good guy."
Unreal.
um but
Please don't hate him. You know what that reminds me of is you remember Jeb Bush gave us a speech and he was
please
like,
clap.
please clap.
Good
Sorry.
stuff.
I've never not laughed when I think of that moment. It's so funny. Um oh, and then also just unrelated, the Donald Trump just like shooting the paper towels at Puerto Ricans. Just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done now. But yeah. Um, but yeah. All right. I'm glad we could discuss that a bit. That was a little cathartic, to be honest. So I'm just fuck. I just keep seeing Taylor Swift every year, and I'm honestly kind of sick of it. But I think I'm just a crotchety old man, so
Yeah.
maybe that's my issue.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
yeah.
I don't know.
All right. I
Well,
think we're just about wrapped up here.
yeah, we got 2 more minutes here, so here, maybe I'll just end it there.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Alrighty.